1045 The Team, your home for New York Yankees baseball, if you want to call it that. Levac and Wolf, we got Buster Olney on the phone. And Buster, shoot me straight. Is this Yankee season over?
It's not over. You can't call it over in June because, we've seen teams come out of really deep holes and they suddenly light fire, and they've got a clubhouse full of guys who have big numbers in the back of the baseball cards, but it's been pretty ugly, and I don't have to tell you that. I was looking at some of the numbers this morning. Yankees ranking in runs in Major League Baseball, 27th out of 30 teams. They're tied for 20th in home runs. They're 26th in on-base percentage. They're 28th in slugging percentage. And, you as a Yankee fan know better than anybody. You know, that there have been times when the Yankees might not necessarily have the best pitching. They might have various issues. But generally speaking, year to year, the Yankees are always among the best offensive teams in baseball. And this year, they're not only not one of the best offensive teams in baseball, they're one of the worst. And you think about it this way, too. As of this morning, the guy who leads the entire team in total bases is 39-year-old Carlos Beltran. The only guy within 20 total bases of that is Starlin Castro. Then it's a steep dive to Jacoby Ellsbury. This is a collapse offensively across the board. And based on what we've seen in Toronto so far, it'd be hard to envision the team coming back.
Buster, you don't pull any punches, and that's why I love and hate talking to you most weeks. Buster, so I've gone from hopeful, and now I'm bitter, so I got to get the real answer from you. When you look at this team, as a Yankee fan, do I look at it and say, okay, it's just a down season. I know we're not used to it, but it's a down season. Or is this where I'm going, all right, how many seasons to right this ship?
Well, I do think you can look at it that way because it's not like they're, nothing but 39-year-old guys who are at the very end of their careers. This is not, to draw a comparison that you'll understand, these aren't the 64 Yankees, right, where there's a steep collapse coming. They certainly have some core pieces to build around going forward. They've got some minor leaguers. They'll have Greg Byrd bat next week. We talked last week how, you have Byrd, Castro, Didi Gregorius, at some point Aaron Judge. You've got some pieces there. You've also got some money coming off the payroll, and I do believe that the new labor agreement will take the burden of revenue sharing and luxury tax off the Yankees to a degree that'll maybe compel Hal Steinbrenner to spend money again on some players. But there's no doubt that this is the first time in 20, 25 years where the Yankees are actually going to be taking a serious look at being sellers before the August 1st deadline.
Buster, I hear a lot of fans trying to blame Joe Girardi in this, and I love blaming a manager. I'm a Yankee fan, but I don't feel like it's his fault.
No, I completely agree. And look, last year when he was using Dylan Betances so often, I was critical of him, and I think there's some things. I put it this way: I don't think Joe is a calming influence in the dugout when you see him wrapping himself around twice with his arms across his chest. But I don't think that has anything to do with how they're slumping. I think it's all about guys who have had terrific careers in the past who just are not effective. Mark Teixeira is just not hitting. Alex Rodriguez may have reached the end of his time as a productive player in the major leagues because this, bad start for him. This is not only 25 games now. He's hitting about $180 since last August 7th with strikeouts in about a third of his plate appearances. Brett Gardner is a guy who's had success. He's been terrible so far. And, you look at Michael Pineda, what else can you say other than he's been terrible? Luis Severino pitched badly. That's got nothing to do with Joe Girardi.
Buster Olney joining us right here on your home for New York Sports 1045 The Team. If you hear sadness in my voice, it's because it's there. Buster, so we ask you, I've asked you a couple weeks in a row, are they going to be sellers? It looks like that's the right way to go, but is there anybody on this team that people are going to want to buy?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And I think that they'll definitely get play on Andrew Miller. He may be the most coveted player in the market if, in fact, the Yankees put him out there, because not only is he, an elite reliever now and someone that you would acquire if you're trying to win a World Series, and that was a phrase that was used to me by a rival general manager, that if you're going to trade for Andrew Miller, you're not only trying to make the postseason, you're trying to win the World Series. That's how good he is. And if they put him out there with 2 years left on his deal, they're going to get great return from the Cubs or the Rangers or the Giants or the Dodgers. Chapman has value in the trade market, without a doubt, because he's an impact late-inning reliever, and we've seen how bullpens have been difference-making. Beltran is a guy who I think is going to be really attractive as an experienced corner bat, a switch hitter. I do think they'll probably get some play on Brian McCann, although maybe the best fit on paper would be the Rangers. And based on what I've heard this week, I don't think they're going to be that aggressive because they've got some older players under long-term deals, and I don't think they want to get too old. But there are definitely players on that roster who are going to draw interest from other teams.
Buster, I always like to ask you, who's better, the Mets or the Yankees? That's an easy answer now.
You don't want to ask me right now.
No, but let me ask you this. Whose offense is more offensive right now? And obviously the Yankees are worse,
Yankees.
But based on... Okay.
It's not even close because the Mets are playing... they're playing the National League, and they've got, all these lights-out starting pitchers, where on the other hand, the Yankees actually have to hit to win. And as we talked about, when you're talking about the Yankees being in the bottom four on base percentage and slugging percentage in the ballpark that they play in with the amount of money they spend on their everyday lineup, it's ridiculous. It's not like anything I've seen, and I can even remember seeing really since the early 70s.
It hurts. And you know what makes it worse? Meanwhile, Mookie Betts for the Red Sox is like the modern-day Babe Ruth.
Yeah, he's got more homers, in the last 2 days, and the Yankees doing, 6 weeks? No, I'm kidding. 5 homers. And I tell you what, when you are around Mookie Betts, the thing, there are players who try to get better based on insecurity, and this is not a rip on the players I'm going to mention, because there's some guys are like this, and everybody's built differently. When I covered the Yankees, Tino Martinez was someone who needed to take batting practice all the time. He needed to constantly practice. It would make him feel good because there was some insecurity there. Mookie Betts, from what I understand, when you talk to other Red Sox people, he's constantly asking questions of Chili Davis, their hitting coach, and other coaches and teammates, and hey, I got to find a way to attack this particular pitch. What's a way that you can recommend me doing that? And the way he asks questions, it's out of confidence. Like he's like the smartest kid in the math class, and he's got a problem, and he's absolutely convinced he's going to find a way to solve it. And that's why this year we'll be talking about his MVP candidate, and you as a Yankee fan, you'll probably be cursing Mookie Betts for the next 10, 12 years.
10, 12 years, huh? Oh, that's great. I'm ready to curse him this year, but the whole another decade. Buster, you were at the Matt Harvey game where he looked like Matt Harvey. What did you see? Who is the real Matt Harvey right now?
I think what we saw the other day was a lot closer to being the real Matt Harvey than what we saw last week against the Nationals. And yes, he faced the White Sox, a team that, offensively had been struggling and came in off a terrible weekend against the Kansas City Royals. It was a great opponent for Matt to have that day, but for him to hit 98 miles per hour for the first time this season and to maintain his velocity and get to the seventh inning for the first time, those were all big steps forward. And when he got that last out in the seventh inning, pitching through trouble, second and third and one out, to see his physical reaction, gives a fist pump, and then when he got to the mouth of the dugout to let out a two-word profane phrase, and the second word was yeah, so I think he can figure out the first word. And to see the other players in the dugout and the way they responded to him, and some of them doing like double taps, tapping him on the side when they're coming back, like way to go. They all understood, Matt and his teammates, what a big deal it was to, again, be reminded of just how great he can be, because now the Mets, with Harvey pitches like that, the Mets moving forward that's going to be the backbone of any success they have, that incredible rotation.
Yeah, and they're getting closer to Zack Wheeler returning as well.
Right, which is going to bring up some interesting conversation, I'm sure, about, should the Mets consider dealing one of those starters? And this is 100% complete speculation from me, with everything going on with David Wright. I absolutely believe the perfect guy out in the trade market, if the team makes him available, would be Todd Frazier. And that would be only if the White Sox dropped out of it, because they love him. But, geez, to have a New Jersey-born guy come over to your team, a guy who can play first base, he can play shortstop, he can play also his natural position at third base. He'd give you a lot of coverage in a lot of different ways. And maybe Zack Wheeler would be someone who would attract that type of return.
Buster Olney with us right now, 104.5 The Team, Levack and Wolf. Just checking ESPN.com. You've written a piece about Marlon Byrd and the PED suspensions. We were told there was another name coming. Is this the name, and are we done for now? And what is your overall feelings on Marlon Byrd?
I don't know about whether or not there's a name coming, because 2 weeks ago I was told that there were no real big names in the pipeline. And I don't know if that was semantics or, if someone was saying Marlon Byrd wasn't a big enough name to qualify for the real big names. I got to say that when I heard that he's tested positive, I gave it like, oh, wow, that's a surprise, because he's been busted before.
Right.
He was suspended in 2012. He came back. He's proven again that crime pays in baseball, because he's made about $18 million of the $38 million he's made in his career since coming back. And I wrote, in the column today, I wrote a list of big hits that he got, and how, in April, he's in a 1-1 game against the Tigers and Justin Verlander just before he tests positive, and he hits a tie-breaking home run to beat Verlander and the Tigers, and which might go a long way toward explaining why Justin Verlander was tweeting out yesterday an angry emoji when this news came down. There were times when he beat the Twins with a late inning hit. At times the Twins were trying to break out of this long losing streak. He hit a home run off a Reds rookie. The next day, that guy was sent back to the minor leagues after having an ugly outing. And so all of that, I think, serves as a reminder that this is not only about Marlon Byrd making money and benefiting from PEDs, but it's a zero-sum situation in that if he benefits, he's hurting a peer in the union. And he's the guy in the neighborhood card game who has decided that he's going to stack the deck, he's going to deal from the bottom of the deck, he's going to pull an ace out of his sleeve to try to beat his peers. And it will be really interesting to see if the other players go one step further and toughen the penalties and reduce the potential rewards for players to stop players like Marlon Byrd.
You don't think of the ripple effect. You just think of the immediate effect.
Well, and that's the thing. And I wrote in today when Manny Ramirez, when he, in 2008, forced a trade from the Red Sox to the Dodgers, in that month, in the last 2 months of that season, he hit .396 with 53 RBI and 53 games. The Dodgers came back from a deficit. They beat the Diamondbacks in the division. The Diamondbacks don't have that in their pocket, so what happens the next spring? Their general manager, Josh Burns, and their manager, Bob Melvin, get fired. When players cheat like this, other players, other people in baseball are affected.
Buster, you got to read all his stuff. If you're not an insider, trust me, it's well worth the small fee that it is. I think I'm signed up for life now, and I didn't even know I paid for it.
Thanks, Levack.
And you get the ESPN magazine, too, usually, if you sign up at the right time. Buster, where are you going to be? What are you covering for us?
We've got Giants in St. Louis on Sunday night. The angriest guy on the mound in baseball, Jake Peavy, screaming at himself against one of the hardest throwers in baseball, Carlos Martinez of the Cardinals.
Buster, thanks so much, man. We appreciate your time. Enjoy your weekend.